Big up, family. I was talking to myself and I wasn't connected. Now I am. Aha. Welcome to the Black Biracial broadcast. This is the 243rd episode. Let me see if last week I couldn't even share my PDF. So let's hopefully this week, after taking my machine to the Mac store, they've actually worked out the issue. Let's see, shall we? Let's try that one. Let's see. Look at that. Look, it works, which is always good. All right, cool. Let me get rid of that for a second. No, let me do that. Cool. So welcome to Black Biracial broadcast. We're going to start the show. We always start the show. We're going to start this way. We're going to have the PDF. And let's go through. We're going to do, we have some of a part two of last week's show. And we invited some guests on. Hopefully they'll turn up and stuff, which is good. But first, we didn't manage to do the Traoré breakdown. So we're going to do a few minutes of that first. And then we'll go to the part two topic. But let's go through as we always go through. And that is where's the beginning? Hold on. How about just delete it? So, what is it? For some reason I keep forgetting. Am I forgetting something? Have I cut things from this thingy? You know what? I might have. Double dilemma. All right. Some of mine's gone blank. All right, let's start with basically, there we go. This is one. So we all start with the triple tragedies. There it is. And that is white supremacy, anti-black racism, and the Martha. Now, those triple tragedies have caused a double dilemma, which are we are despised or we're disorganized. Big up Katari. He's in the house, which is good. So we're going to have a nice part two of that brother. Very, very good brother. Very important brother. He clearly is educated on stuff that he needs to be educated on. That's always good to talk about that. Cool. So where are we? Okay, double dilemma. Yep. And then the double dilemma requires a single solution, and that is Black Betterment. This show we promote Black Betterment, which is a lifestyle of Black people helping Black people. That's right. The community come together to find solutions. Good stuff. There you go. We primarily focus on Black families, Black economics, and Black health. Big up Ebbs in the house, and also big up Brother Dominic, very important contributor. Thanks for the support and the videos. Very good team player there. And everyone else who also supports, if you want me to big up, let me know. Some people like private stuff, I get that. But big up everyone who supports the show. This is our show, meaning the community show. And we're going to go in the direction that you guys want to go, as long as it's constructive. All right, cool. So where are we? So we're sending a link out. Obviously, brothers can jump in, but and sisters, of course. But when you jump in, don't forget discipline, dedication, dignity, and discernment. These are the 4D values. If you can remember those 4D values, you're doing good. All right. Trying to use derogatory terms. We've got a list of them to the right. If you could use more terms that's on the left, no, on the right. This one, you're right. And less on the left. We'll make conversation just that a little bit more easier. So today's topics are biracial correcting biracial. We talked to the Black biracial guests about the importance of biracial people correcting self-hate and anti-blackness within the biracial community. Tongue twist. And then Ibrahim Traoré support. We highlight the worldwide support for the president of Burkina Faso. Ibrahim Traoré support, which is a repeat. Shouldn't think that. Cool. So we're going to because we had such a good thrilling talk last time, we didn't really get to cover it last time. So we'll just do a quick 10-minute or so, depending how it goes, of where we are for Ibrahim, and then we'll jump onto the biracial correcting. The biracial correcting topic is very important because it actually goes more than biracial members of the community. It also is, and I'll show some videos of you can always divide the Black community into different pockets of similar kind of people groups, and the question we're saying is what role does those groups play when people from that same kind of people group within the community does behavior patterns that isn't collectively constructive. So anyway, let's go to Traoré first, and then we'll come to that. That's right. All right, let's go. Don't forget to tell a friend. We're live, and we're trying to find solutions. Let's go. All right, so 2023, there it is. So let's go through the Burkina Faso. I've got quite a lot of videos here. I won't play all of them, and they're usually quick. So let's go for it.
About $1 billion in uranium resources to over 300 billion a year. We need to look at what's happening in Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. President Traoré is standing up. He is saying the natural resources in Burkina Faso, they belong to the people of Burkina Faso. Niger is doing the same thing. Mali is doing the same thing. Every leader must look at what's happening in the Sahel nations. If I may use the example of what happened in Niger when the government decided they were going to take over the mining of their uranium. The French companies that were mining the uranium were paying the government 80 cents a kilo for the uranium, and then turning around and selling the uranium to the rest of the world at 200 euros a kilo. So that one move from the Nigerian government to say we are now going to take ownership of our own uranium.
Big up there. The sisters, the aunties giving us real insight on how people should be moving. And we're seeing that, at least for now, within Burkina Faso and the surrounding nations. They're also influencing and working together. Good stuff.
Ibrahim Traoré.
Things might be Jamaica. Could be wrong. Maybe it's,
not to worry. We are solidly behind him. We love you rising, and we are grateful for you in this time. We are solidly behind him. He's not alone. Ibrahim Traoré, you are not alone.
As I say, if you can really become constructive and find and do activities that's for the community where you're from, you will get support. You know, you will get support. I know it's hard to start because there's always things gunning you down, but if you do it, you will get support. You will be noticed.
And what is your message to Emmanuel Macron?
If something happened to Ibrahim Traoré, you're gonna see what's gonna happen in the Western.
Also, there's a general black brother from America who's obviously, I don't know what he's doing, but he's not best pleased with the uprising in Africa, revolution and stuff. And he's trying, I think that's what they're talking about.
Emmanuel Macron, leave our beloved president alone. Leave him alone. We don't need you. What the hell? Leave us alone.
Yes, Africa.
Leave Africa alone for Africa.
Leave Africa with all the resources alone. It is ours.
We are coming peacefully, but ready for war. Your time is done. Pack up your shit and leave. Ibrahim Traoré.
Stop, darling. You've been eating out of the too long.
You've had your way for long enough. Go away and leave us alone. Stop trying to kill our leaders. Stop trying to kill our people. Stop trying to undermine us. Go away and leave us alone.
And if you could have one message for Ibrahim Traoré, what would that
Brother,
be?
live long. Love you to the maximum. Go forward on fire. You have our support from all over the world. From Jamaica to the Caribbean, to America, to Germany, to France, everywhere we support you. Rise up, rise up, rise up.
Let's all unite.
Africa
Come
unite.
as one. We are one.
People.
Doesn't
Africa
matter
unite.
where we are, where we have been scattered. We are one.
Let's see some more videos. Excellent. Is that American on? I can't even tell. Can't tell what that was. Yes, this is the American general guy.
Comments about how he's supposedly using the gold reserves to provide his own private security. And let me just say, first of all, that's not true. Second of all, if it was true, let's be honest. Wouldn't it be somewhat justified considering the fact that they continue to make attempts on his life? I mean, they just recently made another failed attempt on his life. That's probably why they're upset and why they're now going out of their way to bring it to the attention of the national public to try and create this narrative, not unlike what we saw happen with Libya and Gaddafi, because Ibrahim has had that type of impact in West Africa when we're talking about not only uplifting Burkina Faso, but then uniting West African countries like Mali and Niger so that they can combat Western imperialism and the NATO allies that try to oppress them.
The United States and France are determined to do to Captain Traoré what they did to so many others. In Burkina Faso, to the great Thomas Sankara, in the Congo, to the great Patrice Lumumba, and so many other leaders that they have dispensed with extreme prejudice because their own interests were threatened by an African leader who's actually governing in the interests of his own people and not of the empire.
There you go. So yeah, we're still with 3 more videos, but we're covering the uprising in Burkina Faso and Ibrahim Traoré and the motivation of people coming out to support. Let's see some other videos I've got. So let's see if there's any different ones. Hold on, got a lot though. Let's see any more.
We're going to be hearing the West is trying to
Heat gang.
Let's see if I find more about this guy.
This is what you get when you sip that Kool-Aid for too long. This is what you get when you replace black power with black excellence. This is what the black community gets when we remain willfully ignorant that the United States military is a white supremacist organization. A black man advocating for Western intervention in Africa in order to stop African sovereignty. And this houseboy didn't just stop there. He also said...
Also very important, this also ties into our topic. This is African Americans calling out behaviors, even though these generals do not speak for African Americans at all, they never have, but they still take on themselves to correct in-house. So this is part of the in-house cleaning that is today's episode also about. Let's carry on listening.
Suggested that Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso was like other African elites and stealing from his country in order to maintain his regime. And not to play devil's advocate, but if you are the enemy of every Western nation, including the one with the largest military operation, and you just thwarted a coup not too long ago, I think spending a little extra bread to make sure you don't get assassinated is the smart move. But that can't be General Langley's problem with Ibrahim Traoré. Because the elite stealing from the citizens of their country is the exact same business model that gives him a paycheck. Nah. His problem with Ibrahim Traoré is that he has kicked out all the colonizers from his country and has set a precedent for Africans globally. I loved the energy my people had when it came to defending Ibrahim Traoré and Burkina Faso. Let's remember to keep this energy when the state inevitably paints him as a brutal dictator. He takes the necessary actions to combat Western repression. Power to Ibrahim Traoré, power to Burkina Faso, down with the empire.
Let's see what some other brothers and sisters are saying.
Oh, come look, pan Judas. Come look, pan traitor. So this is what 30 pieces of silver gets you. Ivory Coast. What the hell is General Langley doing in Ivory Coast? Yeah, we all know what he's doing there. And you big dirty stinking germs is sitting on that sofa conversating with somebody who wants to take out your fellow African leader. And this is the garbage that they're spewing. Pause to read. This is the garbage talking about, oh, because of our fellow alliances and how we want to help you stop terrorism and all of this stuff in your country. It's a damn lie. They're trying to watch Ibrahim from afar, yeah? And they're trying to plot his unaliving. I don't think you guys understand what this means. Look pan Ivory Coast and look pan Burkina Faso, yeah? And General Langley, who has just accused Ibrahim of taking the gold for himself and, oh, they need to save the Burkina Faso people from their demise and all of this type of shit. He's posted up in this neighboring country and he's a general. And you guys really think, what, he's just over there for peace talks? Are you crazy? Ghana, you're over here quiet as a church mouse. What do you have to say for yourselves? And if you want to know who the dirty rat is, I present to you Alassane Ouattara. He is the one that's having these conversations with the Americans and plotting on Ibrahim's demise. And if there's one thing we know about African leaders, they will give up their batty hole for a couple million. And as I said before in my last video, every single one of you neighboring countries need to stand with Ibrahim, which means if a US general has come over into Africa and he has threatened an African leader's life, you have a right to arrest him. You have a right to deport him back because he is a threat to somebody that needs to be protected. But you know, as they say, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. So I'm talking to the people of Ivory Coast. What are you going to do about this leader right here.
Okay, so maybe one or two more videos, then we'll move on to the next topic. But we're just highlighting what's going on. Oh, no, see what other ones we got. What's this?
I see that.
Let's see what this guy says. This is him talking.
Don't mind calling them out, but Captain Traoré and Burkina Faso, as they know that both, whether it's their gold reserves, that is all those proceeds are just in exchange to protect the junta regime. There's a number of examples across. Even in Sudan, what's going on with the rapid support forces and Burhan of the Sudan forces, when you get down to it, is all about the revenue that can be drawn out of that. And there are nefarious actors in the CCP and sometimes Russia are complicit in those activities.
That's what this individual saying. So yeah, there you go. So we'll just do a quick update, and we're seeing the worldwide support for Traoré, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's no secret that for years and years, Africa has been used, and it's the proxy kind of thing where you have a puppet kind of leader in charge, and then that he does more for outside countries than the actual people group, and he gets big. I think we covered was his name Bongo from Gabon? I think it was Gabon. My memory's very bad as it always is, but there was a gentleman. I want to say Gabon, and he was locked in his room for his life, and I think he was one of the many African generals or African presidents, and who ended up marrying a woman from the colonizing nations and stuff. But yeah, he was also apparently, doing certain stuff, and they removed him. And yeah, so it's it's good to see. We're gonna try to keep up to date, but yeah, that's good. Now, let's get rid of that. Don't forget, tell a friend. We're live. The show works on the feedback and the interactions with the community. We're trying to find support here. And for those who listened last week, we actually had a special guest, and the brother came in. There were some others who wanted to come in, but they didn't. But Kitari, his name was, and he came in to talk about. I was on a podcast and I was just discussing with a sister about identity originally was, and then it moved into like marriage and this kind of stuff, who the black people should marry and this kind of stuff. And then he wanted to talk about certain things, and we unpacked that last week, and then we said we're going to have a part 2 potentially. But the direction I wanted to go down is biracial correcting biracial. And what we meant by that was biracial brothers and sisters are within the community, but sometimes just like with many things, they might get podcasts or they might get a platform, and they might speak anti-black rhetoric, which isn't which is never good. And it's never really good to see maybe a dark-skinned sister arguing for light-skinned sister on a podcast about this kind of stuff. I mean, it happens, whatever. It's always best that if someone is really unsynchronized with any kind of, productive kind of thought, that maybe another brother or sister in the same kind of scenario can just go, look, I've lived the same kind of lifestyle, and I can say that what you're saying doesn't really correlate, or maybe where you're going is actually kind of anti-black. Maybe you want to stop that. So the question is, should people who are actually more closely connected to certain people groups take more of a leading stance in trying to correct them? And we're going to look at some examples while you think about that. But this is one thing I was saying before was like, there's always within the greater black community, there's always kind of like, not civil wars, but like differences of opinion, groups that kind of clash heads and butt head, people who are once in this land, now in this land, identify like this, identify like that, all that good stuff. So I'm going to show you some examples of what I mean. So this is a Nigerian sister talking. So now the context is Nigerians reflecting upon the behavior patterns of some Nigerians who go to America and how they behave when they get there. And this is a video I came across. So let's have a listen.
Every Nigerian got this talk, but a lot of Nigerians that travel abroad got this talk from their family, where they'll sit you down and tell you, you're going there. Don't go and talk to those black Americans. You just go and get pregnant. You get into drugs. You start become gang banging. They give you that talk. That just go to the white community, find a nice place. They just go and be decent. stay with the white people. They give you that talk. So when you enter America, you already have a perception of African Americans. You've judged them. And of course, they can see that judgment in your behavior towards them. And they see how you are almost like yes master to the Oyinbos. They see, they're not blind. So when they have that feeling of, when they become defensive, when you're in their presence, it's because they see that perception you have of them. So I know I got that talk. And a lot of Nigerians got that talk. So we are over there, we are doing well, we are doctors, we are building houses, we are feeling like, yeah, so we come to the land of the living, we are the land of the plenty, and we are doing well. Forgetting that some people sacrificed for you to go there in the first place. So is that acknowledgement that the African American community are expecting of us, especially those of us living abroad in America?
Okay. Can I say something?
So I just want to say that. Now let me show you an example of someone that might not necessarily that is potentially part of the issue. Let's have a look.
This country.
No,
I know.
No,
These are two student brothers, and I think there's a narrative. You know, one of the narratives from African Americans is they want to be acknowledged for the amount of work that was put in when America was being founded, and how it was, you know, it's founded on the backs of many black well, no, they weren't immigrants, they were founders. Really, black people were part of the founding of what they called the American United States, and with blood, sweat, and tears, all that kind of stuff. And you know, this is some of the comments from some people from outside the community.
And like anti-immigration goes way back.
Black
it
people
goes way
built
back.
this nation.
Like even in the 1800s,
We was here.
1900s,
We was here.
they always hated immigrants. They always blamed everything on immigrants. But America has needed immigrants. America is what it is because they keep bringing immigrants to this country.
And this is.
But we're not gonna say immigrants built this country. They did not.
They did.
Oh,
Can I point that out when we say that immigrants did not build this country? Immigrants did build this country because
Let him talk, bro.
I don't know you, bro. Like I don't know why you've been talking to me. But what I'm trying to say is immigrants built this country because a lot the Irish when they came in, the Italians, most of the railroad tracks were built by Chinese immigrants who came here in the 1800s and the 1700s. So when people say immigrants did not build this country, most of the United States were immigrants because Texas was part of Mexico until we got annexed by America. The Louisiana Purchase, where French was in Louisiana, those were immigrants. That's why they speak Creole. When you go up to Washington, all those places were built by immigrants. So when black people are saying, well, you know, we are the foundation and we built everything, it's like, yes, y'all built the majority of things, but you cannot at the same point then push out all those other immigrants
Nobody's
who
pushing
came
out,
in
but
here
your
and say
blanket
that
statement was immigrants built the country.
they're not important. Because this country was built as a collective.
Immigrants played a part in building the country.
It was built as a
This country is what it is because they brought immigrants here.
When did the immigrants?
I don't know the full context of this conversation, but here's what it is, right? African Americans have not been acknowledged for the massive role that they've played in the building of the Americas, right? And now that they're motivated for many reasons to try to highlight this, to have people from Africa come in and then try to just either ignore that or just try to focus on other like Irish and Chinese and stuff. This might be problematic. It's not the best timing to try to do that. And this is what they're saying about, people from Africa and the Caribbean coming in and just causing some kind of confusion or just trying to not really be synchronized with what's going on or not really being team players, this kind of thing. So things like that. They need to hear that, especially so and I think, sister, that this Mele Goddess, I really like to unpack that because and obviously we're dealing with the biracial thing today, but we're going to move on to that kind of where you have the African American. There's new terms being used dependent in the African American community based upon the descendants of slaves and this kind of thing, and there seems to be an argument between Caribbean, some Caribbean Americans and some continental African Americans versus Black Americans or foundational Black Americans are descendants of slaves or freedmen. There's many terms people are using. And what I'm saying is, I think the same thing we're saying the biracial thing, you have to have a domino effect. Like, why is this conversation happening? So I'm saying that to have people from the diaspora from Africa or Caribbean going into the States and then trying to like hear the narrative that Black Americans are saying that we want to be acknowledged for building the country, and then try to like, oh yes, but other people do that as well. There was no other people do it as well when no one was acknowledging the sheer amount of work that Black Americans did to build the country. Now that that's a narrative, I don't know if it's the best time to try to highlight Chinese and Irish contributions to certain things that was done in the early days. But then once again, this is the emotional back and forths where we try to focus on strategy. You know, when you see Black groups arguing, you can try to come with the aha, but it doesn't really work. What happens is they come back more forceful, then the other comes back more forceful. Then someone will say, yes, but this guy was from Nigeria. And then they'll throw insult towards the guy. And he goes, yes, but this guy was from America. And they'll throw insult. And then they'll start bringing up ancestors or people who did big work on the past. And then they'll try to make people delineate from them and say, well, we don't care about Marcus Garvey, or we don't care about Malcolm X because he's from here and we're from here. That's the inevitable. So the question is, can we actually try to establish a domino effect and go to the beginning of it and go, okay, why has this argument that wasn't there before, why is it here now? And now that we've understand where it's come from, how can we try to find solutions? What is the best strategy? And we're going to try to do that with the biracial thing. There you go. So we're going to use the biracial community here, or just anywhere really, as that kind of study framework. So for those who don't know, this is I'm just going to test this video because we saw this video last week and the week before, but my machine was so bad that it wasn't working. So there we go. So it should be here. I just want to see if the show even opens. So this was the show. I just want to skip through certain things to the community, right? And that way, it's like, okay, we can move on now. This comes from market research of how to deal with humans. Community groups.
The whites have been racist to you, and the blacks have discriminated.
I would say majority of racism I felt ain't from white people.
So that's enough. I'm just going to stick to random things that people are saying. So this brother identifies as biracial. I'm still trying to establish who in his family is not black. He knows, and when I talk to him, let me know. But he said the majority of racism, and once again, educate people on terms. To refer to black people as racist is very problematic. You can use bigotry or responding to racism, but to just say, yeah, you're the racist is very strong. And he's saying that, and I can't really, undermine a person's feelings or opinions. But he says that he's received more racism from the black community, which is interesting. Well, technically, you can't receive any racism like that, but I assume bigotry is what he's saying.
Chinese?
Let me unpack. Hold on. This is important.
I'm so happy that you're here, beige boy.
I'm here now.
Look, they're linking up.
Fusion. But sister, let me unpack, right? Here's what it is, right? There's no doubt you're going to face discrimination, but what I see is, what you have people of black descent, right? A brother, I don't know if you're still in there. Let me know if you can click on the link, Qatari, and anywhere else you said they wanted to join on. I speak. There's a lot of people behind the scenes who kind of they're not comfortable to jump in, to certain topics, but they generally want to be in. But if you brothers want to jump in now. People who are black, right? And what's happened is they will feel or be aware of an oppression that's going on from, say, the dominant society, which historically was a white people, right? Now, what's happened is, because of that, they've developed first they did jealousy and envy of being conquered or whatever it might be, and resentment, which makes sense, right? And now there's a person that is seen as a collection of both, right? Yeah. So what it is rather than what they're showing you actually could be forms of jealousy, forms of
it's what you said, like the PTSD of slavery, because they feel a bit inferior.
No, this is because it's a very shocking topic, whatever it is, right? So what is, they are reacting to racism. They're not practicing, they are reacting to racism, and they're giving you an aggressive tone. But if you were to really unpack the psychology, it comes from self-hate. Now, a lot of people don't want to hear that.
Hey, thank you. Say it again for the ones that couldn't hear.
So the sisters obviously misunderstand what we're saying here, right? Because that, once again, someone's trying to win the conversation. So this topic is, I think, so this topic was, the sister was saying, and brother, it seems now, that they face more bigotry from black people, and that's their opinion. But this sister was saying that with her, it wasn't necessarily black men, it was black women. And what we're trying to unpack is that, historically, because of favoritism and this kind of stuff, you're going to get resentment from certain people who see certain things, and also the fact that certain people's pains isn't being acknowledged, you're going to get further resentments, and that's where we were going with this. But the sister was trying to more like one up.
No, but what I'm saying is, but that's
you're going too far.
No, definitely. Let me tell you something. As a woman,
she's getting to the light.
Let me just jump in quickly. As a woman, my experience as a mixed-race woman amongst black women has been awful. Has been horrible. It's been rejectful. It's been mean. It's been problematic. And that's why I said, say it again, because it's the self-hate. It's the constant projection of their own feeling of inferiority with the other race.
Yes, yes, I'll show you the video. Let me see if I can find it. I was going to send some other people as well. And brother Qatar, I think he joined, but maybe his thing disconnected. Let me see if I can find it for you. And we carry on playing this. But yeah, brother, if you want to click again, I'll send you in and you can jump in whenever you like. It's your time. It's your part 2. That's interesting. Let me see if I can find it for you. But let me carry on. So this is the sister explaining that dark-skinned women have cause of some kind of grief. I remember the whole highlight of this topic is a case study, but what we are pushing forward is, and obviously these two sister and brothers were not probably the people to do what we're saying, because they both have been, their mind is, they've got a certain understanding in their mind, and the understanding is there is that black people cause them more pain than white people. Very strong statement, and it's a very triggering statement, and we're not one to disagree, but I've seen this kind of behavior before, and that's why we try to get more synchronized biracial people to actually educate these brown sisters on some of the follies of their ways.
And then they think I have a privilege because I have some of the other race, when actually I'm treated. No, but it's true.
That's what Alicia Dixon.
It's horrible.
Alicia Dixon syndrome.
It's true. The only time
so
that I feel
when I came with Watermelon, he made certain jokes. Why is that not aligned with those same jokes?
Why are you snitching? There was off camera, man.
I suffer a lot. I can't lie. And the only time
he just spoke about
that. And that's why I just wanted to say, because obviously you mentioned it, I wanted to say scream it louder for the ones in the back, because it's painful.
Now,
you know?
what I'm going to say is going to be very shocking.
It makes me angry still.
Now, obviously, you know, I'm a light-skinned person. I don't have European parents, whatever it might be, right? But eat great, eat food, horrible, whatever.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've seen your forearms. There's something going on.
Yeah, definitely. You ain't gonna get away from it. So what it is, though, the thing is, though, we have to be.
We're joined by Qatari and a sister. But go this. I've posted a link to the show. So on Jedi's page, go support that, and everyone. It's 2 hours, so it's 2 hours and 29 minutes. So a lot of people have messaged me, and they've only ever seen the clips, but it's definitely a good fire thing to watch. Brother Qatari, he watched the entire thing, and he even last week gave notes about certain things that he wanted to come back on. But we're now joined by him for part 2. Welcome, brother.
Blessing, King. Blessing, people.
Good to have you back.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily coming back for a part 2, but I'll come back to join the family if there's any questions and answers that need to be said. Then I'm here.
Definitely. Well, so I'll go straight into it. What? And this is a conversation that I have with the Caribbean community, the African community, the African American community about. We're all in the greater black community. We're all in the ABC community, the Sun people, the black people, the greater black. That's one massive community. But in the community, you can understand there's pockets of different, similar but different collectives, right? And sometimes there's going to be things that might cause, some kind of disagreements between the groups. And I'm saying that as a strategy, one of the best things to do is have people who are more similar speak up on the side of black betterment, on the side of productive kind of stuff, right? So the question we're saying, and I think we mentioned last week, is with sisters and brothers like this, if they are saying something that you disagree with and you're around them, it might be more powerful coming from a person who's from a similar kind of background to actually go, well, no, brothers, like we disagree with this. This is not the correct way to view it, or maybe we should look at it from a different perspective. And this is the greater training that we're trying to do, is everyone who's put from a certain part of collective. Have them more speak up, because it's much more powerful coming from them. Now, you might disagree with that altogether. You might think that is a silly idea, right? Or you know what? Everything these people are saying, I 1010% agree. So, I do nothing. But that's why we have this conversation to see where, they're saying a lot of things, and it'll be good to know if some of this, because we never had time, because we did last week, we did. But was there anything they were saying about some of the behaviors that you know, on the couch that you actually agreed with, or that we misunderstood, or do you feel that maybe what we're pushing forward might be a good idea, as in like we move forward as a collective? So, you know, I could always be a person trying to correct people, but it'll be more stronger coming from people who might have a more similar kind of background, or might have a better understanding of what they're saying, but they see where they're going wrong. Does that make sense, bro?
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with you, my brother. There seems to be a lot of division as it is. So I think that conversation with Jeddah and the sister would have been better if it was too light skinned. Let's say, for example, me and her, if we was having that conversation, it would have went a lot more, it would have been less confusing to the greater audience and the greater spectrum of our culture. So I do think that's a great point. I do think these points also need to be discussed and had among us, so we can kind of work out what's going on, because there's a lot of confusion. And especially within our shades, it's kind of crazy, because it's like you got dark skin against light skin against mixed race. It's just kind of crazy. So we do need to speak among each other and listen to each other, more importantly, and big up the sisters inside and the brothers.
There you go. Big up everyone in the house. Big up Mary guys. Big up Kushti. Big up everyone else who joined Sister Street Reigns. Big up Rasta TV. Only Salsa one. Big up brother Dominic, and big up Ebbs, and big up obviously brother Qatari in the house, and brother Dominic, of course, and everyone else who's in the background who's watching, and tell a friend we're live. Today's topic is biracial. I've written down this somewhere. Where's my PDF? My memory's not as good as it once was. It's biracial, correcting biracial, and it's more used as a kind of stepping stone to just groups within the black community taking control of trying to correct groups, just to minimize anxiety. So we're watching the video here. We've watched it before, but we're just using it as just to spring ideas off, because we did want to have a part 2 from last week. Brother Qatari did a very good job last week of articulating some of the concerns he had, but also adapting to some of the concerns that some of the sisters brought up, and then finding a way to best navigate that and find solutions as a we rather than the me.
Conscious that you know, unfortunately, darker skinned people have faced a very, very terrible existence historically, right? So when you are going through something, this is a byproduct of what they have gone through.
Yes.
So I'm asking to be merciful to that, because in order for us to fix it, we can't then create this kind of new light dark paradigm. I've got more pain, you've got more pain. You know,
she thinks mixed race people suffer more racism than black people.
Yes.
She thinks mixed race people have it harder than black people. That's why I got her on this pod. In certain aspects. You're gonna agree?
In terms of acceptance, so not entirely, but in certain aspects,
inclusion,
because at least you feel welcome somewhere.
I think something we have to do really. I think another brother. Is this? Have you got another? Oh, you got slides. Okay. Let me know when you want me to put those slides in, family. I'll pull it in. Yeah, what I'm saying. One thing we have to do as well is sometimes people might use there's overall, not that you're trying to have a pain parade, right? But there's overall pain and oppression that people go through, and then there's the uniqueness, and I think what the system brother is describing, which they're pushing forward as like maximum pain, is the uniqueness, and there is definitely going to be truth in the uniqueness that if someone has one black parent and one white parent, they can face a kind of rejectment, resentment through both party groups, as in, and it's gonna be, you're gonna be very aware of that the Europeans are doing this and the Africans are doing that. It's very different from having a complete, say, black or African family, where even though you're facing a resentment from them, but it's coming from one place, as in we're all in the same boat, we're just hating each other, rather than you see two separate groups and you're being hated by both, and how it can be perceived. So, brother, you put two things in there. Do you want to control when you use that, or shall I? I don't know if you can do that, but
yeah, I threw two PDF slides in there. They're just about the Black Panther Party and the things we was doing back then to what we're not doing now. And I've got like a whole folder of these. I've got like Maya Angelou. I've got a ton of stuff, and these PDF files that I've just uploaded, they're only 2 out of like about 100, but they're very just beautiful to see, if we could say that.
Is what you're highlighting, because I think you was highlighting before that there were people who have a mixed heritage biracial backgrounds in the past who did big wondrous things at many different levels and hold like very high positions in certain places because of merit and stuff. Is that what you're saying, right?
Yeah, this black man right here, Huey P. Newton, he's mixed race, and he was like the founder and the defense minister of the Black Panthers. But yeah, this is like a slide of him, but I've got other slides of all the other Black Panthers and stuff like that. So
let me say this, and this is very good, brother. I think back in these kind of days, because the brand and the goal was blackness, right? How people are connected over blackness. Everything was black, black, black. So there's going to be many brothers who have admixtures of many biracial backgrounds and this kind of stuff, or sisters as well. But that wasn't necessarily something that anyone had to promote, because what you're promoting is the unity of blackness, right? So I think that's where today we're getting kind of lost, where there's no longer action around blackness. There's no longer like black people are doing this to get this done. It's more so identity and who can you marry and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of separation.
Yeah, because the action is being taken off. Now people are focused on identity and oh, you know, I'm this and I'm that and I'm part of this and I'm part of that, right? Rather than actually there's work that needs to be done, and the work has to be done within the black community, right? So and that's why I think it's important for me personally. Why, you know, every time I speak, we're centering the black people, and I use very shocking terms. I'm sorry, but you know that we haven't recovered from the atrocities and the ma'afa that was pushed upon us. You see, so in these kind of days, in these kinds of times, everyone was on cold because they knew what time it was, right? But it's almost like there has been a relaxation, and we're seeing this kind of behavior in, say, America and England now, with certain black groups take it. Like we just watched a video of a Nigerian sister. And she was saying that before we came to Nigeria, our parents gave us a talk, and what the talk included was, do not hang with African Americans, do hang with white people. Now, this is a very, very shocking, thing to say, but there are many mindsets who do that. And to segue into what the sister was saying, she was saying many things like, that it was black women that has caused her more grief, and she was referring to her father as a big black scary man. What I found interesting was both the gentlemen, and this is something that you can unpack with me as well, because this is what some brothers say and they want to really find out more about, is there are some biracial brothers and sisters where they might be in a discussion and they acknowledge that they say there's pain from the white and the black, but you seem to have more kind of like harsh critique towards, say, the black, and little to no critique towards the white. At least definitely within this podcast, right? The emphasis, like the sister's passion came from what she experienced through allegedly what the black sisters were doing, but she already described that the entire nation she lived in was anti-her. You see, so there was no real like, what do we do here? The brother's showing us a good slides of the Black Panther past and P. Newton, Huey P. Newton's contributions, and how he moved as a inspiration to many people of admixture background, that this is how you can be moving, you know. This is, and you will be loved and respected for the effort you put in, as rightly so. This she said big, so you get a lot of big ups in the crowd, but we're saying she's on the other team, she showed her colors, just like and that's another thing with this whole YouTube thing. Some people are very clickbait, and this is the thing, because black people are so disorganized, unfortunately, you will get many clickbaits and less pushback by just picking on, it's a very strong word, but picking on kind of like the black community. There you go. The brother's bringing some slides of the past work that was done in the Black Panthers, and obviously we're highlighting the content is biracial, correcting biracial, having like biracial people more so lead in correcting unsynchronized or error-prone biracial members who seem to be exceptionally harsh towards black people, but not harsh at all towards European people, white people, from the family group or from the community group, whatever it might be. And we're highlighting, as a strategy, will it be more productive for more biracial people to lead in that exercise and be more of a platform to correct that behavior. And what would be good as well, as funny enough, is we unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, we used to have a lot of black men, more so trolls or whatever it is, but they will come. We would let them come on the show for case study purposes, but they were black men who were thoroughly invested in marrying the daughters of white men, and they really would like jump in and really like say a whole lot of things, and they had a whole lot of like wanting to defend their children. Like, no one's talking about their children, but they wanted to do that. But having a biracial person jump in there and actually give a perspective of someone who's had one black parent, one white parent, and also some of the behavioral patterns that are like problematic from, say, black men in that dynamic that they've witnessed, that would be very handy as well. You know, and one thing we always try to say here, and I don't know if I downloaded the video, I probably didn't. Yeah, it was what was I saying? As in, understanding that we live in a world that is very anti-black. So some people will step up and they really think that the choices they're making comes from their natural heart, which might be, who knows. But also, we can't look past the fact that just the anti-blackness that's in the world might play a big part in the choices we make, and that includes who we decide we want to be with or not be with. And that's a very important topic. I was talking to a sister not too long ago who was you know, she was talking about being triggered, like she wanted to come on the show, but she couldn't come on the show because she had a white partner or something like this with, and you know, some of the comments would trigger her. And we're saying, you know, we don't want to trigger, we want to be as constructive as possible. But one thing we are saying here is, what is a template? So whatever choice you make, that's your choice as a person. But we have to say, what is the best template for black people to uphold? And that is to come together, marry each other, this kind of stuff, right? Generational wealth. But also, in regards to the identity of biracial people, when you look at Huey P. Newton, as we see in the slides here, there's no reason to start bringing up other communities in a conversation or a movement about black people. And that's what some of these brothers and sisters seem to get really wrong. You know, they understand that this is a black thing, really.
I mean, we're going by the old concept of if it's the one drop rule and all that stuff, I'm supposed to welcome it. But then I'm here and I hear certain things. I'm like, hold on.
Well, so what about and that's another thing. And brothers who are listening, and what is it that is happening that's being said? And you can be truthful, but we'll unpack that is not welcoming. What is that's happening in the black communities? The activities that is being done or said that is showing that you are not welcome in the black community. Brother, is that something you would know more than me? Maybe, I'm assuming. What is it?
Do you want me to have like an answer type of thing?
Well, I mean, you might not have an answer. It's just more I'm open to the question, and you're actually on the panel, and you are a person who might correlate with what the brother and sister are saying because similar sort of background.
It's the same as like a dark-skinned sister would feel to. Let's say there's a dark-skinned sister and she's amongst sisters of my tone, beige looking, coffee looking. They could be treating her funny because she's dark skinned. So I feel we've all experienced it in ways and senses of feeling a little bit like left out or picked on. So I think it's like it comes from that kind of angle of things. But obviously you have to know who your people are and everything like that. So
but do you ever feel that you are not in the black community because of this?
I wouldn't say. Do you know what it is? Yeah, it's like nobody can pick you or select you to be in something because everybody has their own communities and their own organizations and therefore, you know. But for me, it's like I don't need really to feel accepted by anyone. But obviously, I have been in positions where I haven't felt accepted by my own and by people of other backgrounds. You know, I think we all have felt that. Like we could go into a classroom or in a room and the energy may not align. So we may not even be connecting off of energy, let alone off of skin tone. So there's a lot of moving parts, you know, that plays a factor in it. But I have experienced, of course, feeling left out by my own and left out by other races. But I've also felt accepted also. Do you know what I mean? It just comes down to what people you're around, you know, but obviously we're all human at the end of the day, but not a lot of people see us that way and they just separate us and stuff.
So that's correct. So you're saying that some people don't necessarily they don't see your humanity and want to separate from, as in obviously the area of interest is the black community. Now, don't get me wrong, there are going to be people who do silly, unsynchronized things, bad things, and part of this is to correct that. But one thing I don't want to do is, because the brother and sister, they repeat themselves throughout a lot, and I don't want to be dismissive of their experience or their believed experience or their witness experience. But what I do want to do is unpack it though, and sometimes words might be used slightly. The words could be used a bit different to get a better picture, and I think that's important. Just like, for example, the brother saying that black people are more racist to biracial people than, say, white people. Well, that's a strong statement, because we understand that racism is power, and there is a history of unfortunately Europeans massacring people in mass, right, and owning things and limiting people based upon skin tone. And we understand in that context there are nations of people with laws saying that the lighter you are, by law, Brazil is one of them, the more access you will have to education and land and these kind of things. Not as much as Europeans, but you'll have more than the Negro, right? And obviously we understand that in American stuff, we know that regardless of the terms they use, mulatto, quadroon, these kind of terms, none of them could actually ever get, freedoms and stuff like this. But by being close proximity to the enslaver, there were privileges that they could, and that's where the terms house Negro and field Negro would come in some context in the Caribbean as well. So we understand that there has been, and not that you want to define your people group by the trinkets that the oppressor gives you, of course not, but people are human, and this is how they react to and also internalizing that in the community, where the value system that happens outside the community is now being used within the community as a value system. So being closer to Europeanness in all things, whether it's language, phenotype, culture, religion, all these things, is more preferable within the community. Where things that are more black or more African are more demonized and this kind of stuff. Let's see, we've got some questions here. Yeah, he don't sound bitter. He frankly honest, and he understands the balance. I accept him saying that this happens across our community. Doesn't make it less important though, and as family we hear etc. We hear each other out, and healing is made. Yeah, so let's carry on this with the brother. He's saying.
There was a time when you lot was like the kings and queen of the black community.
But was I king and queen of the black community?
There was a time, maybe you was in Norwich, in London though. There was a time that
it's important you know this.
Being light was
the inferior thing.
But also, like, self-hate, like he said, meant that being light skinned or lighter or whatever was in fact some people that exist today are a product of the fact that their black parent thought it was a status symbol or a better thing to be with someone outside of their race.
Yeah, but
that might not be your issue because you're just born from it. But there's a whole social thing where being light was a great thing. I was dealing with chicks whose parents and grandparents were saying, don't bring back no man darker than you, don't bring back an African, there was...
We're not going to dismiss either, because
it's true, but then you have to consider the fact that this is not your land. If you're back home, you wouldn't have these problems. So
so I don't know why the sister went there, and this, once again, this narrative of going home, regardless of how it is presented, is a problematic tone that you tend to get from Europeans or people who are, like, well, if you don't like it, go home. So it's like you've acknowledged something that's a problem in the community, but if you don't like it, leave. When the solution really is, well, we're talking about inward problems, meaning us, what we're going through, so we can fix it. We shouldn't have to leave. We shouldn't have to go to another continent to fix something where we're based, especially if the issue we're describing is within our own community. And this is why people say, why are you correcting? But she was saying, bless the sister, but she was saying a lot of things at 10 miles an hour, jumping from topic to topic, maybe because it's a good, it works well on the algorithms, but it's, So, let me just carry on.
You have to also take into account the fact that you are in an alien land to you, you're choosing to stay here, and you stand out. You are a minority in their country.
I don't know why that. So once again, when you look at Europeans who go to Kenya, Kenya or any other place, they build up certain kind of places for themselves. They're happy there. They do what they're doing. There is no go to another land to get better. One analogy I was telling someone the other day was when Europeans went to Australia, colonized, I should say, really, South Africa, Israel. These kind of places where their skin tone wasn't really developed for the land they're trying to stay in. Unfortunately, the world fought back on the nature that was, and obviously it heightened the chance of them getting skin cancer. Now, black people in those lands, because they had high levels of melanin, they would fight, and knew how to live. They would fight off skin cancer at a high rate, and they had more of a natural protection for the land that they've been in for generations. But the Europeans, they didn't wait for black people to give them melanin or whatever. They just started inventing suntan and sunscreen, this kind of stuff, right? And that's what that kind of analogy is what I'm saying, that if you're in any place, whether you're in Europe or the Americas or whatever, what do you do to adapt to challenges that you're facing? You see, you don't have to wait for the other groups to come do for yourself, right? And that's what we're discussing. So the sister's saying leave the country and stuff if you don't want to have difficulty. I don't know if that's the best solution.
So what do you want?
And
you want them to treat you the same when you're not the same?
And once again, this is another thing as well. And you could be anyone. You don't have to be biracial to do this, but just like bringing other people into the conversation, saying what do you want them to do. That's why Black Betterment focuses on what we are doing for self. So you don't then have to have an expectation that someone who has historically tried to destroy you and wipe you from the face of the planet is going to do anything for your collective best interest.
No. But remember, we're talking about how we treat ourselves in our community.
I know, but I'm just explaining.
So I'm glad that I'm seeing myself correct, because sometimes I forget what I did. But yeah, so there you go. So I'm correct, trying to correct sister. Let's see if she tries to stay on point.
Even with racism, you're an outsider. The same way that I feel like an outsider within the black community and within the white community. Why?
For someone that feels like an outsider, you hang around with us a lot.
And that's a very interesting point that Brother Jonah made. And I think we covered this on. There was a show with a few shows. We've done so many shows, it's unbelievable. But there was a show that came on the BBC where it was about something about black representation of some kind of thing, whatever, I don't know. And there was a sister, one or two sisters who were biracial, or they did not identify as black. They identified as biracial, and they had a lot of issues with the black community and you should love everyone, this kind of stuff. But they won a show about blackness in the UK, and they had a very big spot, but they did not identify. And the things they were saying didn't really. Was kind of anti-black, kind of where the sisters kind of go with some of her stuff. Now, the reason I say this is, and I guess this is the big question I wrote down, but I forgot to write down, so to remember to say it, but I remember to say it now, is who should be representing the black community? Now, obviously, being biracial doesn't mean you cannot. That's never hear me say something like that. But I do say that for me, it's once you're a member of the black community, what credentials are you showing or having that makes your opinion worthy of ears? Like, what is it that you've done, or what ideology are you aligned to that makes that makes you a spokesperson for black people? And I think that's something that we should really craft out. I'm obviously pushing forward that you have to have some kind of ideology that is Black Betterment based, so at least we know these people are for black people, because everything they say is based upon black people progressing, rather than kumbaya, this kind of stuff, right? So I think that's very important.
Can I say something to that, please?
You certainly can, brother. Go ahead.
Sorry to interject, my brother. I think that's a great point and a great question, and I think that is something that we all need to ask ourselves and ask the community and culture, because this is why in the Black Panthers they had different leaders of different shades. Do you see what I'm saying? They got Huey, that's mixed race, for example. Then you got Seal, who's a dark-skinned brother. And again, this goes back to Melanated Goddess's questions last week, because she was saying basically about identity and how she would prefer someone of her skin tone, that it more in lines with who she is, type of thing, for example. So I can understand that. Like, let's say, for example, we used to take someone like Usher, and Usher was doing a life story movie, would prefer someone of his skin tone to play it rather than a light-skinned brother. So, but this is where, like, we have a spectrum, and this is where we will use our shades to our advantage to lead and to speak for people, so we all feel more welcomed and just not separated, if that makes sense. But I think that's a fantastic thing that you said.
I think compensatory kind of I think we mentioned last time, it is the goal where it's like I think the sister was saying that there should be no one representing the sister directly. I think what should be happening is, we have space to put something, and then we try to put things there on a compensatory level. So if we have a magazine, we make sure that there's enough Black sisters with 4C hair and from this kind of place in the world, whatever it is, represented in that magazine to represent Black people in that context. And you also recognize historically many people have been excluded, so you are then trying to include what was excluded in a kind of compensatory manner. So you're fixing what was damaged, but you're inward fixing. You're fixing the challenges that other people have brought to your community. But that doesn't mean that other different skin tones or nationalities or ethnicities doesn't get represented. It just means you're aware that historically one of the major ethnicities or groups or shades has been completely ignored, and you have to fix that. And it's a primary.
That's right. And I wanted to say this. So you see the sister on this show.
Yes.
Where she's a mixed heritage, and I think she says that her parents come from Zimbabwe or somewhere. One of them.
No, I think she's one. The dad's Angolan, while the mother's Portuguese, and she also said, but I don't know. I don't think she was Portuguese in Africa, Angola. I think she was Portuguese in Portugal, but through connection to the father, is more African than African women. And I could be wrong on that, but that's what I got from the many things she was shouting. But
yeah, I think you're right on that one. And I just think with us people and females also, we have to sometimes sit with each other. Where's three gentlemen on the podcast and it's one female, she may have been probably coming across different, and she seemed quite hyperactive as well in a lot of her answers. And I feel if you sit down with her one-to-one, kind of work out where she's come from, her background properly, and build with her slowly, then you can kind of understand her a bit better. This was all kind of like, everyone was just speaking quite rushed on the show, and it's just, there's a lot of things that's lost in translation. Do you know what I mean? But I'm not trying to defend her. I'm just saying, me knowing sisters and brothers, you have to sit down sometimes one-to-one and gauge a better perspective and understanding. If that makes sense, sir.
It does make sense. I've lost it. Yeah, no, it does make sense. It does make sense. This sister though she's kind of famous for going on certain kind of podcasts with certain kind of genders. More so, I would say manosphere aligned kind of agendas or manosphere delivery, and with that kind of movement, the shock value plays a big part of it. You see, like saying very shocking things. I'm not saying she doesn't believe this. I truly do believe she probably does, but she says very shocking things. So that seems to be a thing. But what I try to do is really ask the one question to get the one answer that I didn't really get from her. So I don't know, she saying that her European mother is more African than Africans. I don't know. That seems to be delivering the way to cause some kind of shock. And and that's something that we have to, and once again, this is highlighting the praise and defense for Europeanness and so kind of like a colonized mindset to unpack it really, and the dismissive of traditional Black women just existing in a natural state, of the Africanity. This, my mother was raised around a Black man who taught her everything, so she's more African than you Africans, who, regardless of where you think you are. Yes, and that's the thing is, on these kind of shows, there's probably shock every 7 seconds, right? But you're with people like me and Jedi, we've heard everything 100 times, so we just don't react, because we know that there's gonna be 7 more shocks coming in 7 more seconds. But when people are listening, they're like that. And obviously, you said yourself that you were shocked by the things that was or wasn't said, and that's why you approached me. So, look, I need to come on the show to unpack some of this stuff.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. And Jedi kind of unpacked it quite quickly, because that's what I like about Jedi. Jedi is like straight down the middle, and he's direct, and I love that, because we need more of that, so we can kind of get to the bottom of things quite quickly, and then we can unpack them. And Jedi said to her, "But hang on, you're more comfortable around the brothers," and I kind of picked that up on her. And when I look at the sister, it's like she seems like she kind of be hanging around our people, type of thing. Maybe she hangs around both, whatever have you, but like Jedi said, she seems very comfortable hanging around us and shit.
I don't think she hangs around Europeans or white people at all. I think she hangs around black men, and I think the thing with light-skinned women are always going to be comfortable around black men. Black men historically are very good at not putting certain pressures on women, more on women who there might be some kind of preferential treatment or something like that, right? But unfortunately for the conversation, black women are not going to tolerate certain kind of like inaccuracies, or perceived inaccuracies. So because I don't really see her much around some of the sisters, and she said herself, her biggest kind of adversaries are dark-skinned women, as she put it, and that means that she's obviously saying something that's causing that to be unpacked. But two things can happen at once. There could be the historic of being a light-skinned sister around darker-skinned sisters in a situation where something was said or done, preferential treatment was given in some term, and then that has triggered someone to do something. But that's one context. At the same time, going on where a sister's just saying mad stuff, and people are reacting. You see, and you're conflating it. You see, you're conflating the two. So, but once again, we are unpacking dominoes. So the personal pain that someone goes through, we have to unpack it and see the truth in it. But then once we've seen the truth in it, we then highlight where did that domino come before to trigger that in it. And I think it's quite alarming to if you're not educated on what racism, white supremacy is, you're always going to be confused, and you're always going to look like. And this is something that a brother did mention about some other biracial brothers and sisters who will come in through no fault of their own. As in, it's almost like they've been trained to see the errors in the black community and trained not to see the errors in the non-black community or the white community, right? And that's quite shocking, because the inadequacies that we observe in the black communities are directly caused by the oppression pushed upon us by the dominant society, the Europeans, the white supremacists, and those kind of contexts, right? So the fact that this concept is never really there really never was a conversation about, wow, look what's happened here and what should be done. So for me, I'm sitting in a room and I'm saying, whoa, we've been hit so hard, we need to recuperate. What needs to be done? Well, we need to have black families, black health, and black economics. And then someone goes, but no, you can't say that. You should black men should be able to marry who they want. I'm like, oh yeah, you're saying that because you're not acknowledging that we're recovering from a big blow from a force. Now some people say, well, the reason why they don't want biracial people to be in any form of leadership, because they might be trained never to see that force. They might be trained to actually never. And there was a brother who came on before, the name slips me, there was a few, and he was not best pleased. He was like, you call biracial people a buffer class, and you're using biracial people to he had a list of things that allegedly was happening, and he's a brother who we really would like to jump on, but he never did. He came on once but didn't come back, and him and some other brother also highlighted like forums that you might be more aware of than me, like forums of masses of biracial people in one, discussing obviously the plight of people of mixed heritage, but also in some even wanted to have like an exodus kind of thing, like we want to move from the black community and the white community, wherever, and just have our thing, South Africa, that kind of stuff, right? So yeah, that was interesting. There was a brother who was talking about the golden people or something like that, and then what would happen is they would then go and start pick apart the black community. Like, we're going to take Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, and Bob Marley, all that kind of stuff. Like, okay, how'd you get those names? But Yeah, Foster. There you go. The sister got it. It was Foster. Yeah. See, yeah. But and if Brother Foster's listening, I hate to speak falsely against yourself. You're always welcome to come in here. And now we have a biracial brother or a black brother, but it can be identified as one black parent, one white parent. And you're always welcome to come in here and say the challenges that you've gone through. There's a site that I guess the more I comment on it, the more I get it, so I should stop because of the algorithm. It's a very small site, but and I noticed it years ago on Facebook, and it was an individual who's making a site where they tried to highlight the biracial people are not black, and black people are not biracial, right? And they're different people, and it's very and he or she really wants to highlight that, and as you know, and it's time. I was always asking, whether they are or not, that's not my concern. I'm more concerned with what has motivated you to make this site. And I think I've got to the point where that person might have been a very white passing person of black heritage, right? And just that in itself means that the whites they don't look white enough to become white, but black people still see them as a very white person, and that caused, I guess, issue. And I think now I said that, I think that might have been Brother Foster's issue as well. I think that might be it. That's a very that kind of the phenotype kind of challenge where because you might come from a black parent who's lighter, and then you're with a European, you might inherit more European kind of features, and then that then comes with a kind of another thing. So I think there's certain people that you wouldn't even necessarily know are actually of African or black or Caribbean extraction or heritage. For example, I was watching Adolescents. I don't know if we were going to review that show. I can't remember. There was something that sparked criticism that we were going to cover. We didn't for some reason. But the gentleman who's the star of that, one of the stars, there's a few. He played Al Capone. He's played a few people, whatever. But his father's actually Jamaican, but he always plays Europeans because he looks European, and I guess he's European. I suspect he's married. I strongly suspect he's married a European woman. So by the code that we go by, he's European. At least, well, he's chosen his path, right? But yeah, that's another thing that's probably more for a biracial people to talk about, that concept of phenotypically inheriting more European kind of aesthetics and how people like not being, I guess passing is a term that was used in passing, almost passing, and how does that operate and stuff. That's also a very interesting conversation, but I'm just rambling now, but I hope people understand that.
Yeah, you made some good points, my brother. That's why I like unpacking with you, because we do it humbly and respectfully, and from different angles, because life has many different angles and stuff. And the brother Foster, I would like to hear some of his points, because what I see with his kind of angle, where he's going with it about the golden race and stuff like that, is kind of, I think it's where, kind of like this sister on this podcast, it's like sometimes, and even myself, and even my darker brothers and sisters, this is for you too, sometimes we can be made to feel like, there's a lot of confusion around other shades and stuff like that. So let me just stay with my shade, right? Which is respectable and understandable, because it's like I've got my darker skinned brothers and sisters that feel the same. But then where they have the confusion divide is when there's brothers like me from this toffee shade, and we connect well and we have great energy. So that's where we know it's not even just about melanin. Now, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing said, right, she said, melanin is the second most important part in your body. She said, do you know what she said the first part was? Your cerebral cortex, the thing that gives you thought, right? That's what she said is the first, but this is from the Queen Auntie, rest in peace, that said that, not from me. But yeah, I'm just giving reference. So sometimes I can understand brothers and sisters' angles of how they feel. Again, we have a beautiful spectrum, and we have a huge spectrum. And every time someone says about black, it's like they could be thinking dark skin, but when it's all the shades in our spectrum, and especially when you believe in God as well, it's like God is of all colors. So it's like we're getting caught up in a lot of the semantics, and especially the white supremacy. They've been pushing white supremacy on us, and they want us to be more divided and separated. So that's why we are under this kind of self-hating, kind of self-destruct kind of mode, you know, when we need to really just see what the enemy's doing. It's like in American prisons, they use like the Aryans will use the Latins and the African brothers to fight each other. You know, it's the divide and conquer tactics that they've just been playing time and time again, same as Willie Lynch. You know, it's the Willie Lynch syndrome. So this is all just effects of that, you know. Sorry, the Bible one.
No, you're going good. I'm going to join your Bible and add something that I was thinking the other day as well. And that is, obviously with terms, with me, I practice Black Betterment, and it's Black first, and identifying who is Black or part Black. And there are many, there's many strong people who they don't even like the term Black. So we have a synonymous with African advancement or Afro advancement. I respect that. And through respecting people's interpretations or realisms about words and what you should and shouldn't call yourself, people can call themselves what they want, right? But there was a conundrum I came across, and that was the term mixed race and the term biracial. Beautiful terms. But the issue I have with the terms is just like people of color, if not already, it might not actually represent Black people as a connected Black people as a whole. And what I mean by that is now people of color in America and the UK can represent Asians, Chinese, maybe some Europeans, to tanned Europeans as well, and that kind of stuff. Maybe and Samoans and all types. Very wonderful. But so for me, the documents I make are just for Black people. So, but some people who have admixture, one Black parent or one white parent, whatever. For them, it's very important for many reasons that I'm not going to unpack, and it's none of my business, I guess. They want to have, in the way they describe themselves, a connection to another group. Now, obviously, for me, I'm like, pro-Black, why do you want to do that? But who am I to? I don't know. I was born in a Black household. I don't know this concept, right? And I keep thinking of biracial people from the past and being mistreated openly by Europeans, so why would you want to mention that? But either way, let me just stop rambling. But I'm thinking maybe a term like mixed Black or Black racial, might be more appropriate in a Black Betterment space. So what you're saying is, you acknowledge that you're mixed, but the Black is there, as in like this Black's got connection to this conversation. And the reason why I further add these kind of new concepts that we're tackling here now is because I noticed that a lot of these sites and talks, whatever, there's this this particular site I went on. They've got all these pictures of biracial people and mixed people, whatever. But the one thing that connected all of them was they had one Black parent, or they had a Black grandparent, whatever it might be, right? But it was Black. There was never one where it's like a Chinese person and a white person. So
that's right.
That means even though those individuals were trying to escape Blackness or whatever it was, they were connected to Blackness because every one of them. Because there were certain mixes or so-called mixes, whatever it is, that had no European parent. It was an Arab parent or an Asian parent or whatever. So I'm like, so what connects all of them together is actually Blackness, like you know what I mean? So which is very interesting. Just me doing my observations from afar. So for me, if I'm going to I will use the term mixed Black because if mixed is now used to describe a Chinese person and a European person. Well, Black Betterment only allows the Black community to practice certain things, and they're not connected to do that. And that will be one of the many ways that I think, when you look at how Americans did the whole minority thing, where they had funds for the minorities, and minorities was once just meant Black people, but then it started meaning women, lesbians, people in wheelchairs, and and people who identify as gay and this kind of stuff. So then, when you start realizing who the funds were being used on, it was actually used on women, people identify as gay, and the very, very bottom was Black people. And because we practice discernment here, we want to make sure that we don't fall for that kind of stuff in our documents. So that's why I'm thinking, I prefer, just thinking out loud now, a term of someone who wants to be connected to other people to put Black or African in that term. Mixed Black or mixed African or Afro mixed or whatever. We'll come up with terms, but just so the collective group is mentioned in your identity, because that's actually why you're here. You're not here because of Europeans. You're not here because of Chinese people, whatever.
That's right. And the same as the people on the podcast, like they're all melanated. I'm not seeing a white European sister on there. I'm seeing melanated people. It's just, it's like, even though our ideology might be a little bit on that side, it's like she's still a melanated sister, as be seeing. So yeah, it's true that we focus on the main thing that we have in common. We focus on our similarities rather than our differences. That seems to be the problem, especially down at Speaker's Corner, because it's like you have Christians debating Muslims and they always arguing about the differences rather than coming together on the similarities, So it's a great point.
We've got, I think the sister says, Rap Raven, please ask Qatari my question. I think this is a question. Let me see if I can read it. This thing, it's always because of my screen. There we go. I think it's good for us with these terms. If a person with the same mixed, one said they are mixed and the other says black, it's clear to me what I'm dealing with, in all honesty. Yeah, so I that's the thing. That's where, I guess where I'm coming from, I don't know how I'm answering right, is there are people who are very strong in black betterment works and pro-black works who reject the term black. It's like black is a spell, or black is a color, or this kind of stuff, right? And because I don't play the name game, I'm like, well, wherever you call yourself, I can clearly see we're on the same team. We're from the same lineage. We're overlap, whatever it is. So let's work together. So I don't put stress on them to have to use the black term or the African term or the Aboriginal term, whatever they want to use, right? So I'm thinking when it comes to people from a similar segment, as in the biracial background, the mixed black background, the mixed race background, whatever, maybe I shouldn't put stress on them. We just acknowledge that we're part of the same community and they qualify to be able to join the team and fight the good fight, whatever, right? But then I'm thinking more for documentation's sake, like, I just want to make sure that the person with one black parent who uses the term mixed race doesn't turn up with a person with no black parents who calls himself mixed race. Do you see? I know you're thinking, Raven, why do you always think these things? Is the world really that way? Yes, it is. That's how I'm here.
I agree with that as well, because do you know what kind of, I wouldn't say it bothers me, right? But do you know something that I've noticed is that I'm mixed race, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm labeled that by the government. Let's get that clear, right? The half caste as well, mixed race, that all comes from the government, from the elite, right? Now, the whole thing when you got someone there's people that are mixed with Italian and then they're mixed with, let's say, Spain, right? Yes. 2 European countries, right? And they will say that they're mixed race. And I'm thinking, hang on, I am like the black and white version of mixed race, where I've got black in me. There's people that will call themselves, and that's where there's confusion again for mixed race people. So that's why I agree with you on that, Raven.
Yeah.
It sounds a bit technical, but
no, and I'm centering blackness in all things. Now we got the true question, which I missed, with sister's highlight is, Qatari, what do you think about you trying to erase us promoting black love angle? That's a very important point, and let's unpack that, because that's actually a very super fantastic point that we must unpack. So here we promote black love, constructive black man, a constructive black woman makes a constructive black family, and it's literally almost like a magic weapon that I use whenever I'm around black people and I'm trying to establish who's actually on this team, and because it's like it's a fundamental of people that the men love the women. It's it's just what it is, right? But obviously, the sister there, and I don't know the timestamps, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she's right. I don't know. She and other, so maybe it's a strategy. I don't know. They're saying, oh, just by the fact that your mantra is black love, you're trying to destroy biracial people. And I have a response to that, but just in that. Do you have any kind of comment or that you would like throw away from that?
Yeah, like it's beautiful because it's a beautiful discussion and it goes into like the stuff that I wouldn't mind talking about, and again it ties more into Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, because Dr. Francis Cress Wilson said, right, if there wasn't brothers that was being intimate with European women, right? We wouldn't be able to wipe out just the white genetics, right? It's survival of the white genetics, right? Now, let's say we all stayed with our own and we didn't mess with the white gene, right? They would grow. But where we've been mixing with them, it's like they're a diet. Nature is killing them by themselves. You see what I'm saying? Like where people's mixing with them. Now, I'm not saying I'm with it or I'm not with it, right? It's each to their own, right? But if we, and I do believe in us staying with our own, because I've kind of grown to kind of realize that, because obviously me being mixed race, I think it would be less problem, you know, when you're with your own, and it just makes sense. And I feel with our culture, right, our color and our spectrum, we're so big in numbers and we're so huge, you know, it's like we don't have to worry about our gene, right? But where Dr. Francis Cress Welsing said that we kind of do is because the white gene is trying to wipe us out. Hence why they're making guns. They're doing all of this in the community, and they're just trying to constantly have us killing each other day in, night out, right? Where they're protected in gated communities, countries, and etc. But that's why Dr. Francis Cress Welsing also said that they killed Dr. Martin King, because Dr. Martin King was saying, let's all love white children and black children playing together. That causes biracial marriages. So they say that. So Dr. Francis Cress Welsing said that's why they killed him, because he was promoting basically kill the white genetics, but intelligently. So this is where it's a tough question to ask, but yeah, that's a question we have to ask each other, because if we didn't have biracial marriages, it wouldn't. Their gene would be growing in numbers, but where there is biracial marriages, we're wiping them out naturally, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I hear. I've heard certain kind of things, and I think so. For one of my jobs is try to put this in the most plain way and make it make sense and make it, just make it really resonate of what we're trying to do here. And that is, no matter what we discuss, essentially, I don't represent black people. I represent black people with an ideology. So I'm going to try to fix all black people, but I can't work with all black people. I can only work with black people with a synchronized ideology. So because not all black people are going to be synchronized, there's always going to be people with one black parent or from African extract, this kind of stuff, right? It's just how it is. But the question is, when someone becomes synchronized with an ideology that is based on black people progressing, what should they be doing? And that is, those people should be looking for other people in the community to build with. And that is building every area of people activity, whether it's marriage, institutions, ideologies, blah, blah, blah. You're building that like that, right? That doesn't mean we're trying to make a kind of a world where we don't put. I don't know why, and this is very, very weird thing, like, oh, you're trying to stop us from existing. I think what we've highlighted is you're a member of the community and you can act how we act because you're a member. When someone says things like that, it makes you think that maybe they don't see themselves as members, you see? Because the members have a place, and the place is to marry amongst ourselves, which you're included. So it's like, because you exist, and unfortunately, by definition, you are rejected by Europeans because of the code system they have made, meaning if you're not white, by their rules of how a white person is, you don't qualify for white so-called privileges or white supremacy, whatever term you want to use. Right, so if that's the case, the black community has a space for you, right? But what we can't do is say certain fundamentals we don't practice, and it's not important. And one of the biggest challenges I see is one of the three fundamentals: black health, black economics, and black families, isn't even uttered by the highest echelon of black so-called kind of like leaders outside of Farrakhan or these kind of people, right? Like generally, it's like, like love who you want. So me personally, I'm trying to write ideologies with the brothers and sisters on the panel of how to easily express the sheer importance of black men becoming constructive and find a black woman, right? And to not relieve that, as like, this is important. Like, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. But understanding the importance of the template that constructive black man, a constructive black woman makes a constructive black family. And I think the only reason we don't do that is because we're thoroughly conquered. We're thoroughly conquered where you're almost scared to say these truths. Now, obviously, there is a so-called dog in a fight or not dog in a fight potentially when it comes to people of one black parent, because you've been raised around a European all your life, and no one should or could or would ever take away the marvelous, wonderful experiences that you have gone through with that amazing parent. But the trick that I'm trying to teach you is, do not get individual beauty mixed up with collectivism, right? So you have an amazing experience with your parent, but that doesn't mean that we now should have a philosophy where we want everyone to have a European parent. You see, that doesn't, you know what I mean? It makes no sense there. Did you just get who? Someone jumped in? I don't know. Oh, we got a video here as well. Shall I play that? Let me play that.
A lot of black men say that they are going with white women and so on because they're trying to get back at the system, or they're trying to get revenge, or this is really a hostile act, and it doesn't.
Yeah, and before I'm going to stop, because this this concept of black men exterminating white people through the act of sleeping with the daughters of white men. This is another inadequacy that we have to, whether people think it's true or not true. The reality is the data shows that Argentina and Brazil, it works against that process, right? But more so the fact is you don't lead in a community with so-called negative kind of concepts for very important life choices. The person you pick for your life partner, this is an important process. This is someone that you're going to give your economics to, you're going to have children with, and those children are going to have generational wealth of the activities you've done. So to then start your family with, I'm going to impregnate and marry the daughter of a white man to show the white man a lesson. This is inadequacy, and I've been in many forms of black men who try to use it. I usually tell the camera for their sake, because I don't want them to make a fool of themselves, because it really is quite problematic where the importance of a family and these things are used somewhat as a defensive mechanism to allegedly offensive, I should say, to allegedly stick it to the man. You're really sticking to yourself, and this is why I'm one of the few people go on camera and say, actually, when you're doing this, you might think, with the power of melanin, this kind of stuff, you're winning. But so organized are Europeans in their activities that everything you do when you connect with them benefits them. You see, look at all our rich directors and football players, or whatever it is. They all end up getting masses of wealth, and all the wealth goes to and we'll do a case study while you're there just to demonstrate this for new people. But let's play this video first, and then I'll show you some of the PDFs.
In fact, that they see it as a confrontation with the white system, and not as something that they're succumbing to as an inferior person, that they're asserting, in a sense, their manhood, or saying they just have as much right to have a choice about the women that they want that white men used to have and still have. The white men can have white women, and they can have black women, they can have anybody they want. But black men were confined to black women, and they couldn't even have her.
Yeah, so and let me just now, because we've got the PDF here, just to hide. Oh, is that? Oh, you got to remove that first. Don't you? Let's remove. Thanks for the video, family. And we're gonna. Yeah. So we've got tons. You probably seen, probably, because you probably haven't ever seen the show, which is good, because then all this stuff is brand new. So let's show. We've got a PDF that goes on for days. But so, for example, this is, say, Quincy Jones, one of probably the most famous producers of all time, because he produced Michael Jackson's album, which automatically makes him very famous because Michael Jackson sells so much. Very good talent producer. What we see from his psychology, he's married 5 European women. You see, right? Now these are officially married, and with the ones he married, he's had children with. And what's happened is these are the children. So we've took the painstaking task of hunting these people down to take pictures and put them in a graph. But what's happened is these are the Europeans that he's married, and the children, they've all seen, for the most part, married Europeans. You see, and what happened upon his death is he's very wealthy with the money made from Michael Jackson publishing, and he's given each one of these children 80 million each. That's quite not bad, isn't it? Not bad. But we find that the majority of them, if not all, and notice that the one who married a black brother were divorced by the time the money came in. So I don't know if that counts. But a lot of these brothers and sisters, they're kind of following father's footsteps, as in, like, Europe is where it's at. I mean, that's where the investment has to go. You see. Now, when we look at the brother who he produced, Michael Jackson, very very important brother. But we noticed that he married twice. You see, The first one was the Elvis's daughter. The second was this woman who was his makeup artist. And for reasons that his own, he ended up adopting, so they say, her children with another European gentleman. And once again, his wealth was quite high, but you know they have 40% of his wealth that they've got. This is the last time I checked their partners. This individual, he seems, I don't know much about him. The blanket, he might be young. I don't know how old he is, but they've all consistently got Europeans, and they're going to be more alluring to Europeans, because they've got Michael Jackson's money. Hey, right? So let me actually start going that. So this is the famous Ham's Redemption, where in Brazil there's a famous painting where the old black woman is best pleased that her daughter, the old lady married a European, and the daughter herself was married a European. And this is something that was very well trained. And I'm not going to use the whole biological thing. My thing is generational wealth and who owns the things you're producing, and also just being around to do things, right? So that's why we say black love. We highlight that this is a black man, black woman. They've married a black person, and biracial people, African people, Caribbean, they can do the same thing within the group and start a business or start something constructive, and the community will support. There's some kind of direction, right? Let's just go through this. Got a lot of fantastic things, but we even got data on who is being picked on dating apps. And unfortunately, even though we find the black woman exceptionally beautiful, that doesn't seem to translate across these apps. So that means we can't afford to not look after the black woman if she's being left out, you see, because even though we know she's beautiful, these apps don't seem to do it. So we need to definitely work to make sure the black woman has good choice. We've even got diagrams and just so you know, bro, this is something that you might be more interested in, right? This is very important. You see what we say here. We're discussing where is it? I think it's the 3 A's. I think is it. I don't know where I put it. Maybe somewhere, but we'll use this as a demonstration. Here's a picture of a very dark-skinned, wonderful brother, probably from Senegal or somewhere like that, right? And a biracial brother. Now you can say aesthetics. This man, give him 10 out of 10. He looks like he's solid black for what people perceive melanin to be. Whatever. Let's say his ancestry goes straight to let's say he's in Africa. Everyone is from the black nation, really, whatever. Well, this brother, a wonderful-looking brother. But he might have a European parent, he might have a European ancestry. So when it comes to like marks, so well, we can't give him 10. Let's just be controversial and say that, right? But the real thing we're trying to mock after that is action, you see. And as you know that the aesthetics and the aesthetics and ancestry can give you 10 points, but when it comes to action, that's 90 points. And we're saying that as beautiful as it is to be this background and that background, what we're tracking is your actual action, and that's very important. Yeah, very important. What are we tracking? What are we actually tracking, right? And that's where someone like this brother, who might be, you say like light skin, and someone might try to remove blackness from him, which is very wrong, right? Very wrong. But we realize that actually he has done more for black people than this brother, right? And they both have black backgrounds, yeah. So you just can't get brownie points by being melanated or being born in an African village or speaking Swahili, whatever it is. That you literally have to have an action you're doing, and that's why Black Batman is about that action. You see. So I'm just updating the brother who might not see some of this stuff. Some of this stuff is very important. What we've got here. This is another thing we will highlight. That this is the sister. The Mary Cassette Dumas, if I'm saying it right. And unfortunately, she had a European who was her enslaver and had his way with her. And then the son was produced, who actually went on to be one of the greatest generals in French history. And then his son went on to write the Three Musketeers. A lot of money's been generated through this. But what's happening, because they keep marrying French people, the money's staying in France. And today, the last thing, he was in the Olympics winning, what do they call it, the sword thing, the en garde, that whatever that's called, that thing, right? And obviously, black people have now been forgotten. The wealth is now what was created once was one black is now in the white community and owned by the French Europeans. And this is something that happens, right? We're also highlighting the challenges of if black people don't marry black people but want to claim reparations. Is there a way how Europeans can actually get reparations? You see, and just like Michael Jackson's children and the Quincy Jones, like yes, we know that when money's involved, we'll be there. So that's why everything we do is how do we defend black assets from being completely taken from other groups, and that's what we do here. We do, and to show you all this stuff is right. This data we'll unpack this data to you one day. It's very important data, but right now we're focusing on the whole why it's important that black people, black members of the community, work with other black members of the community. Yeah, also things like this. This is contemporary kindness and love. You see, it's an amazing thing. You know, black people coming together. This was a film about, I think it was about a black king who married a European woman. Interesting film that they funded with them. But we're saying, as wonderful as that is, we promote traditional kindness and love here. So we want black people working with black people. You know, that like, you know. Also, this is a very good case study to do as well, brother. That this sister on the right, they're from Australia. So very different types of blackness, but they have a different code going on. But either way, she's an Aboriginal black woman, and this one on the left is a white Aboriginal black woman, so claimed. But what's happening is Europe, you know, Europeans are marrying Europeans, and they say that their granddad was Aboriginal and they marry Europeans. But what happens is that because the Australian government recognized that they exterminated a lot of them, they set up certain kind of like funds and stuff for the Aborigines to tap into. And unfortunately, many Aborigines are alcoholics on reservations and stuff. Similar went on to the Native Americans in the States. It just seems like when white people come around and they practice anti-black racism or just white supremacy, there seems to be a dependency on drugs and stuff that seems to happen. But anyway, but what's happening is when women like this are trying to claim like that kind of fund, they're being denied, while the European looking ones are getting it. So it's a very but by recognizing these things that's happening in the Native American community as well as the Aboriginal, we need to have defenses to protect us from these kind of behavior patterns. This was another case study where around about the time of COVID came on, these were the black individuals who made an advert saying black people fix up, get the jab. We're not saying whether the jab is right or wrong here. What I'm saying is they got these individuals to go on TV to influence black people to do the right thing and get the jab. But when I looked at all of them had white wives and husbands, or at least non-black. This brother seems like he's married to an Indian woman, so you know, right on, but he's not black. At least they don't identify as black as far as I'm aware. So once again, you're seeing a kind of pattern. Like, okay, we understand what's happening here. And then the same thing, we looked at Supreme Court in America. They had all these people who are going to be on the Supreme Court. Not one of them had a black husband. So we see the pattern there. Interesting. Okay. And then we looked at the UK. This is I have to update this I did it a year ago or so. But this was all the politicians in the UK. Not one of them had a black partner, and there was one black man. Who actually had a man as a lover, but that man as a lover wasn't black. That man as a lover was actually European. So what we're seeing like a pattern, you see, a pattern. And, you know, once again, if we go to football and stuff, and this is one sport, all the sports, you can do the same thing. This is all the football players who played for England in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Well done to them. 21 we found married Europeans, while only 5 married African women, black women. And then as time goes by today, same test was done, and now obviously many of these brothers are also biracial because they're the product of European and African, but they themselves are continuing that journey. But then when you look at, it's still quite a low number. So 39 versus 7, and the old one was 21 versus 5. So you see the ratios really going, but this was looking at all the directors in the UK who made films, every single one of them, non-black woman, interesting. There was one, Idris Elba, he's married 3 times. Unfortunately, I don't know how you want to do it, but all 3 were to black women from Africa, the Caribbean, it looks like. So that brother, he's one, but this one is good. So yeah, this is the inadequacy, unfortunately, that we're dealing with. You see, and this we've got much stuff in this document, but I'm just showing you that we do these things constantly. So it's like we're seeing patterns, and in that pattern we have to have a stance, and the stance is constructive black man, constructive black woman, makes a constructive family. And if whether you're African, whether you're Caribbean, whether you're in the diaspora, whether you have one black parent, you're welcome to join us and practice this template, or at least promote it as the primary for what our community should be doing if we want to recover from being conquered by white people. Does that make sense, bro?
Yeah, I'm with you totally, 100%, 100%. Some great slides there, information and pictures.
Yeah. And this is another one. Something we bring up as well is whenever there are two major methods of mistreating, marginalizing, and massacring black people. So these are the two main methods that we've identified and we've put into like a framework. So there's racial segregation and racial whitening. So racial segregation we can observe in Caribbean, USA, and South Africa, right? When you segregate, and then you can break down independence and debt, apartheid, Jim Crow, chattel enslavement, imperialism, new imperialism, scramble for Africa, opposition to reparations, lynching and race massacres, medical mistreatment, white supremacist terrorism, war on drugs, and anti-black propaganda. That seems to be one strategy. But another strategy is what happens in Australia, UK, Arab world, Latin world, and that is racial whitening, black mental, Ham's redemption ideology, castration of black men, anti-black propaganda, no positive black imagery or black family depictions, interracial marriage and miscegenation, black father features erasure, features, not father, but that counts as well. Sad, bias upwards mobility, sorry, my glasses are steaming up, white Arab identified eugenics, blah, blah. So these are the two, these are actual documented strategies of how to destroy black people, like use these things as a weapon. And so racial whitening was actually seen as a weapon. Like if we make black people hate themselves, they won't marry themselves. And then what will be produced after a few generations will not be identified as black. So we will successfully remove this part of the problem, the Negro problem, from our communities. Because we're aware of this actual strategy to destroy black people using these terms, which is plain as day. You say you can even use the amazing Wikipedia to confirm this, right? The question is, how do black people react to this information? So as Black Biracial, we're saying we love black women. You see, just doing that, all that's gone. You see, just by promoting, being constructive and finding a constructive black woman, all the elements that all these nations have come together, including the Arabs, including the Latin world, including the Europeans, of trying to destroy black people. You can ignore, you can just bypass all that by becoming constructive and find a constructive black woman. So that's why we're finding ideologies to push more emphasis on black women, because there's been so many ideologies used to take away from black women. And how we segue that to the conversation is the sister in her rant on the podcast is also contributing to attacking one of the people groups that's most attacked. And that also allows me to segue to the people at home. I'm not having an opinion on it. I'm just bringing it up for maybe it might be next week. Have you seen, I think in America, they've got a statue of a black woman. And let me know if you've seen that, say yes, or one, or yes in the thing. If you've seen that in America, I don't think I've got actually a link, so I can actually go to it. But I'm gonna have to, let me see if I can get it. So just, there's a statue in America and it represents black, well, it actually represents diversity, I think it is. And I think, like I said, black women are the poster child of diversity, but it's more so black women who are lesbian and LGBT and transgender. That's actually like a double whammy, because you get to represent all the diversity things in one. And maybe that black woman actually was born a black man. I don't know, this kind of stuff, right? But there was, I think I painted it red. So let me see if I can click that. I'll pull it on Firefox. Oh yeah, and then I'll see. Because what it was is that the man who designed it, I don't know who gave him direction where it is, and some people are controversial. He's actually a biracial guy from the UK, and he was he was asked to do a statue about a black woman, but I think one woman highlighted, she just highlighted, I thought it was an interesting case study, that he's got a white mother, and I think he's chosen to marry a white woman. Well, let's see if I can find these. How do you do that? So you go to where's your sorry, share, be there, stop share, and then you go share again, present. So if I present Firefox, I'll use Firefox as my thing. Is that Firefox? It looks like that's Firefox. So this is the brother here. What is his name? Thomas J. Price, I think it is. Very skillful. So I'm hoping. Let me see if I can go on this page. So this is him and his mother. Big up to them too. We hope they, do wonderful. And no doubt oh, come on, man. I can't be logging into. Come on, man. Be merciful. I ain't logging in for that nonsense, man. Can't be logging in. Okay, let me click on. Does it log me in? Okay. Can I just ignore it and go there? No, you can't. All right. Well, let me see if I've got a direct link to some of the statues. So I think this is a statue as well. So this is the statue. I'm going to see if I can find the statue he made. Please be the statue. What is this? Oh yeah, here we go. Family, can you see this? It's on the screen. Oh yeah, it looks like I can see some screen. So why is someone put a mammy there? Yeah, so they're obviously trying to So this was a statue he made. And everyone's got an opinion. Some comic guy who draws comics, he did a great comic of the different opinions and the arguments. I have a reserved judgment, but this is a massive statue they've got. It's somewhere in New York or somewhere this new statue in New York. And someone said, there's actually a comment saying, look, does not represent black women. It represents the old American traditional worship of the mammy. Right. So people, donut shop is diabolical. Some of this stuff I don't know if it's even related to what the comment is, but this was something I reserved an opinion. What it is, but I just saw a comment where someone says, "Oh, you've got a UK biracial man with a white mother and white wife to design the idealistic black woman for the representation, or whatever it is." Now, hopefully, Raven is getting to my question. Now, sister, what was your question? Code, you know me. Let's see. What baby plants firewood? What was your question, sister? If you we expect mixed race people to practice racial, okay. Do we? I think there's a question. Do we expect mixed race people to practice racial blackening? Yes. Yes. So racial blackening is if you are within the black community, it's just a term we use, but if you're in the black community, if racial whitening is marrying someone out of the community continuously, then that means racial blackening is marrying within the community, but it's also connected to understand economics and generational wealth and trying to rebuild from what was taken away. So it's not for me to tell people who they can and can't marry, it's up to them. So when you become pro-black or you're about blackness or whatever it is, you will lead with that. Well, I'm going to marry a sister in it, or I'm going to marry someone in the community. Like, it's just lucky me. It's only when people who are not necessarily synchronized with kind of black empowerment concepts where it's like, well, I might love, like there was a brother and I don't, he said he was listening to come on up, and he's always usually busy, but I get approached by a lot of people, and there was this one brother, biracial brother, a good man, and he was, he found his identity and this kind of stuff, but and he had all the black religions and the black kind of clothing and all that good stuff. But then he was like, I struggled though, like, I love white women. I love the white women. I was like, okay, and it's okay, and that seemed to be a thing for him. And like everything else, he seemed to want to be pro this or pro that or whatever it is. But when it came to the women, see, he couldn't. He was a thing. And then once again, we tried to use a Dole test and this kind of stuff to understand that you're born in a world where things are fed to you, and before you know it, at the back of the mind, you've really been conditioned to think a certain kind of way. Hence why Black Burma is trying to promote a way to tackle that with, black institutions, black propaganda, black media, black marketing, where you actually try to paint black things as good because black things are painted as bad, or African things are painted as bad across the board. So if everything that is black is painted as bad, that means when a person is picking something, they're not going to want to pick bad. They want to pick good. And the enemies has made good bad and bad good, you see, unfortunately. So the question is, what could we do to reverse that? Yeah. So is there any other kind of things I need to put in this? The red one means it's Instagram. Love, hate, army, hate night, stay, kids, expelled, I'm not black. Cool. Let's read some of the list. I think that those are the two ones I've got, but this is the statue that was in. There was actually a French one as well, which is I don't know if this is connected, but I saw this wasn't by him, this was by someone else. I don't know if it's connected, but it's like there's a black woman on the phone in France. I don't know if it's, a bronze statue of a black woman staring at a phone built for there it is, and yeah, I can see that. So I don't know what I just saw that. I'm not saying it's connected, but a lot of black women seem to be turned into stones. But the one that seems to be the one that's causing blah 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 is the let me come back at this. Is the one in America. So we might cover it next week. I don't have an opinion on it because I just came across it. Cutting edge when we see something, throw in there for us to talk about it. But after my 20-minute rant there, I hope I answered your question, sister, about and I guess maybe that's a question for you, Kitari, as in do we expect mixed race people to practice racial blackening?
Yeah, it's a great question. But again, it's like in whose community, whose organization is that important to? You see what I'm saying? Because everybody has different ideologies. There's people that think it's okay. It's like Dr. Frances Cress Wilson. Earlier in her years, when she was younger, she was quite militant, right? And she was kind of like in them couple of video clips I got where she's younger, she was kind of saying how she's kind of against it, type of thing, right? But then in ISIS papers, when she's a lot more older now, she was actually saying about the biracial marriages actually help kill the genetics and survival of white supremacy. Do you understand the gene? Because and this is an interesting thing that we need to look at and we need to kind of ask ourselves. And I'm not saying if I agree or I don't agree, but I'm just saying I don't control nature. So what the important thing is to look at is if we was to only stay within our own, right, and we never troubled them whatsoever, not 1%, right, the white genetics gene would grow, right? They would grow in population. But where there has been brothers that's been meddling with the European woman, we have actually been making more brown babies. But then the question is with the what's the thing called in Brazil, the hams redemption? Yeah. Now this is what me and you need to kind of discuss, Raven, maybe on this episode or another episode, right? Because when, let's say you get brown babies, right, and they mate with brown babies, right, being mixed race or being light skinned black, does the darker gene come back around, or are we just saying that we make whiteness?
Yeah. So for me, I treat it like how I treat religious conversations, how I treat biological conversations, right? Because everything I'm talking about is social, and that is I'm not necessarily here, me personally, to say let's try to maximize melanin, because if that was the case, we would probably all get a plane to fly to maybe Sudan or Senegal, was beautiful places and beautiful people. But if that was a strategy, that would be the goal, right? I think what it is you're either a black member or you're not. And if you are a black member, then you can marry other black members, whether they are extremely dark or extremely light, whatever. You're a black member, as in, when people say love is love, I say love is love in that element. So within the community, marry who you want. Yeah, I'm not judging the nature or the tone or you if you're both members of black people, you come together and do what you're doing. And I think sometimes that's forgotten. Like people saying, you have to go around looking for this, looking for that. No, you're either a member or not. If you're a member, you do these things. I think the longer we talk about the more like biological thing and the gene this and the recessive and dominant, the more it's coming across as eugenics. Not that I care or don't care, but that's the strategy that Europeans have, where it's like become obsessed with you know, having this gene and this gene must be pure, or this gene must be solid, whatever it is, right? It's more so about what is the template that we promote. We're not saying you have to do it. You're not going to beat you if you don't. But what is a template? Like, what is the ideal behavioral pattern for members of the Black community? And that is, you marry within the group. You will fix so much more problems doing that than not doing that. Also, you have to understand that generally we are outnumbered and outgunned when it comes to conscious people versus yet to be conscious people. So the majority of people are not going to think this way. So when I just showed you the diagram of masses of black men running with full pelt towards the bedroom of the door of the white man, that's going to be the natural reaction, you know, that is always going to happen. So that means when you come to the concentrated, most dominant betterment minority group, meaning those who are focused on what's best for black people across the board, it has to be, mate, black love is the most important. Like, we have, like, if we have any wiggle room where we say, you know what, it doesn't matter, you know what, you know, you can use this as a technique to remove European, no, because what will happen is you'll have even more black men running with a supreme pace towards the bedroom of the door of a white man. And that's what will happen, because we have so little conscious brothers and sisters with a voice in a kind of necessary kind of place. So the question is, when you go to the echelon of blackness, as in like there's a mindset of a small amount of group that are trying to do something, when you ask them people, what is the best thing when it comes to marriage? They go, constructive black man, constructive black woman. You know, they literally said it before the camera turns off, because that's what time you're going to get. If you say one thing, we got love who you want, the world is your oyster, love has no color, and all that beautiful stuff that sounds really good. William Shakespeare 2.0, amazing. But the problem is that will then become the dominant narrative, and every single black man, including the most extreme radical down to black betterment person, even he or she will be with a non-black person, because we have been trained to despise ourselves at a rate that no other group has ever been pushed, to the point where we might not even know we hate ourselves. We might not even know it. The fact that you can't even have a straight conversation where you're saying, what is the primary function of the men in your group? You know, and that is find the woman of the group. It's like, you know, that we can't even do that because of how thoroughly we've been conquered. Now, guys, we're going to I didn't notice that the brother has actually put some other videos there, so I'm going to play some of those as well.
And I see some black men who are married to white women who remain militantly black.
Well, couldn't that be a defense mechanism?
But there's a contradiction.
But being militant, let's deal with this. Some of our most revolutionary blacks have white women. Now, many blacks.
Let me stop there. Now, family, I'm sorry I'm going to say these things, yeah. It's important to understand that, you know, we're coming from a conquering place. Like, the atrocities that has been pushed on black people have been magnificent in scale and unrelenting. And that's why on a platform about black progression, with these brown sisters, they're all going to acknowledge that a high number of black men who are militant and about black progression, in that mindset, as in with that in their mind, they are still dedicated to marrying and giving wealth and resources to the daughter of a white man. You see, and this is the reality that we do, and that's why brothers like me are quite, regardless of how I might feel inside or might not feel inside, there has to be one tone of voice, and that is constructive black man and constructive black woman makes a constructive black family. And if you are biracial or you have one black parent or whatever, you are welcome to practice this. There you go. There is no anxiety. There is no, are you sure? We cannot, in 1991 or 1980, I don't know what the date is, but we can't be saying the same thing decade after decade, where like a big topic is who is, are black men going to be with black women? This is a demonstration of not recovering from being conquered. Let's kind of listen.
And it's an open secret that their militance is simply a defense mechanism so that they can deal with their need for a white woman.
But look at it this way.
Wow, this is there's one more thing. This is what you played last week as well. This week.
See, because we don't have a clue. We don't have a clue about what is going on. See, we've been thinking, and God bless Dr. Martin Luther King, a minister but a great political scientist. He said it's about love. Everybody should love. And he got killed. And I say the reason being that if everybody on the planet, all these people, white, non-white, loved, and the love was expressed in sexual activity, what would happen? White would disappear. You see, so kill him, because that would mean our genetic disappearance. So, if the system is about white genetic survival, what do they have to worry about most?
Black men, white women.
Black babies.
Black men, white women.
Okay, give him a B+. Black men, white women. Okay, but let's even take it further. In that if the concern is white genetic survival, they don't have to worry about black women. Why? See, the test is going to be next week. The reason being is that men, males, whether they're white, black, brown, red, or yellow, can impose sexual intercourse. If I would, try to impose sexual intercourse on any of the gentlemen here, and they say, I'm sitting next to my wife, and I went to my purse and I got my Uzi. And I frightened the man, what's going to happen? I hope everybody got that. The erection cannot be maintained in the presence of fear. So females cannot impose sexual intercourse, like ultimately, what? Frighten the man. Now the Creator made that possible so somebody, if they were in danger, they wouldn't be in conflict. You see, it's fear. Fear about unemployment could cause a man to have erection problems. Are you all with me?
We got the sister there, so she's highlighting, why black men could be seen as dangerous, because they can create, they can remove whiteness from a white generation, and so what you're looking at here, you're looking at the Anglo fear. So that's why when we looked at the diagrams of what should we call it? Jim Crow and apartheid, that was the strategy the Anglo-Europeans practiced, like segregate them and make laws so that black men cannot practice this against with white women. However, in the Portuguese and Spanish, they had a very different strategy. And their strategy was go to Europe and get lower class Europeans to live in our cities and have them constantly have children with black people until black people don't exist anymore. So that was the strategy that they tried in Argentina, in Spanish, Portuguese speaking world, and the ideology continue today, and that's why they say black mental and some other kind of word and racial whitening and aka Ham's redemption, this kind of stuff. It's always good to see the master teacher there, Francis Cress Welskin, made a book called The ISIS Papers. Definitely one of the most important reads. Maybe in Black schools it should be like everyone has to read it. Very important book. If you haven't read it, go read it. We give thanks to brother Qatari, who's snipped the videos for us and sent to us. One thing as well, sometimes when I talk, I've been saying the same thing for many years, and one thing I have to understand that we center blackness in all things we do here. Black people, the black community. Whether you're in the diaspora, whether you're a mixture, whether you are brown, black, dark skin, melanated, there's a place for you in Black Biracial. And the way to minimize anxiety is say you are a member of this community. So as a member of your community, everything we're saying is within the community. So you might have a cousin, an adopted brother, a parent, or whoever it is that is not of the black community. You love them and do things where you can and play video games and make food and this kind of stuff together. However, they are not included in teamwork concepts based on black people building together, and that should not. And hopefully that doesn't cause anyone anxiety. The idea is you can have a daughter, and the daughter recognizes that women have gone through much hardship, so she joins women organizations, even though she has a brother, a husband, and a son. And she does activities for women to want to strengthen women activities and create spaces for women to do wonderful, marvelous things. Same thing can happen with black people, even if you have some kind of connection to non-black people. And if ever anything I say causes anxiety or some kind of challenge, let me know. We try to unpack it because we try to write things in a way where it is black-centered and black first, but it's delivered in a way that shouldn't necessarily be too anxiety prone. But then we could be wrong, and that's why we need your engagement for us to really review what we're saying. Let's see one of the last questions. Yes, black needs to stop acting like black can get rubbed out. Many places that all you see is tan, and barely any black, and blacks are still underclass in Brazil. Yeah, so we'll end on that saying I would say that sometimes people get really fixated on the genetics and this kind of stuff, which is important here and there. But yes, the Portuguese and the Spanish people systematically wanted to get rid of Africanity in people, right? And today, Brazil, they struggle because of the sheer numbers, but they split people down into Pardo and Negro before they become Bronco, which is white. And those Pardos and Negroes came together to have Afro Descendant Day, and they have a collective term of they are the Afro Descendants. And then there are groups of them who come together to recognize that they have African ancestry. But that's the thing, people do become different, they become different ethnogenic people through many years, and cultures and ideas and identities come by. But they are still of African extraction of heritage, and that what connects everyone. And sometimes you have to have a grace for certain countries that went through different kind of challenges, so they're going to have a different perspective, a different look and feel because of what they've gone through. But if we recognize that they have African ancestry or black ancestry, then there's a place for them to learn from us and learn from them and network and all that good stuff. Right, Black Biracial. So anyway, Brother Qatari, is there anything you would like to, because we're at 12 o'clock now, so is there anything, unless there's any questions that we've missed in the thing, let us know. And brother, we always want them to come back, and we can have a part 3 if needed, or we can go somewhere else. It's all up to you guys. Is there any last thing you would like to say, any questions you'd like to go before we go, brother?
If there's any questions that the people want to ask, we can get into, yeah, that would be cool. And I've got one PDF slide here, so maybe we can view that while people ask, or while
is that this one here? Is that
that's the one? Yeah.
Right. Can you move it yourself, or do I have to move it?
Yeah, I can move it. Yeah.
Excellent. Fantastic.
I did have another one, but it wouldn't upload because it was a bit too big.
Too big, maybe.
Yeah.
Shame.
But anyone can feel free to ask any questions or anything.
Yeah. Any questions in the group before we go? Brothers doing a wonderful slide here. And obviously, if you look at this show and you pause it, you can probably. I'm hoping that it's high def enough, but it probably isn't. But then the brother can always come back here to ask any questions that he knows. But the brother's showing you Black Panther extracts, and obviously brother Huey P. Newton who was of mixed heritage, but was pro-black and black first in all activities until his unfortunate demise. Unfortunately, and the brother's showing you that there are people who are about that life who might be of an admixture background or a biracial background. So that this is a kind of proof of sorts about dedication and commitment despite background differences and this kind of stuff. If there are any questions, let us know. Hopefully we answer everything there. You guys are great. Everyone's winding down. So I'm going to say, cool, that's the brother. Hope you remember, you're always welcome on. You're always welcome to listen or jump in. Like I said, and hopefully we'll get more. I don't know where we're going to go. Don't know what topics next week because it's about what comes up. But if anyone wants any particular topics, we can. And brother, if ever you jump on, you can always jump on anytime and ask questions because it's a community show and that's what we do. But anyway, we're going to go. And so to everyone, Black Betterment to all Black Betterment. Until next week. And yeah, big up. And let's look at the last few slides now that the brother brought in. Very important PDF. And also, we give thanks to Francisca Swelskin and her consistency on Black progressional topics. So big up everyone, but we're gonna end there. Hopefully, we got most of the slide in there. I hope. Hopefully, well, brother, well done for your contribution. We give thanks, and we'll check you next time. Yeah.
Much love, King. God bless everyone. God bless.
Take it easy. Let's go.